Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's so good to have you here as we continue our journey through the Bible. Today, we're diving into Deuteronomy, specifically chapters 23 and 24. Now, these chapters might seem like a collection of different rules, but if we look closer, we find some beautiful threads of compassion, justice, and community woven all the way through. It's all about how to build a society that reflects God's heart for people. Let's start with chapter 23. It begins by talking about who can be part of the assembly of the Lord. At first glance, some of these rules might seem a bit strict to our modern ears, but the underlying principle is about maintaining the holiness and integrity of the community dedicated to God. It wasn't about excluding people forever, but about ensuring the community's identity was centered on their covenant with Him. The fascinating part is that even within these rules, there's a path for future generations to be included. It shows a forward-looking perspective, a plan for restoration and belonging. This wasn't about permanent exclusion, but about the process of becoming part of God's holy people. Then the chapter pivots to something really practical and, well, a little surprising. Camp hygiene. Moses instructs the Israelites to keep their camp clean, even designating a place outside the camp for personal business and telling them to carry a trowel to cover their waist. You might be thinking, why is this in the Bible? But it's profound. The reason given is, for the Lord your God moves about in your camp to protect you and to deliver your enemies to you. Their physical environment was a reflection of their spiritual reality. A clean camp symbolized a holy space where God's presence could dwell. It's a powerful reminder that our daily practical actions matter to God, and that He is present with us in every detail of our lives. Moving on, the chapter addresses things like fair lending practices, fulfilling vows, and even showing kindness to your neighbor. You were allowed to walk through a neighbor's vineyard and eat grapes, but you couldn't take a basket and harvest their crop. It's a beautiful picture of a generous community where people share what they have, but also respect each other's property and livelihood. It strikes a balance between individual provision and communal generosity. Now let's look at chapter 24. This chapter is just packed with laws that scream compassion and justice for the most vulnerable. It starts with the famous passage about divorce. While it outlines a procedure for it, many scholars see this as a regulation intended to protect the woman from being dismissed without any legal standing or recourse, which was common in that era. It provided a measure of protection in a very difficult situation. Then the chapter lays out a series of laws that are just incredible examples of social justice. Newly married men were exempt from military service for a year so they could build a foundation for their family. You couldn't take a millstone, someone's tool for making bread, as a pledge for a loan, because that would be taking away their ability to survive. Lenders couldn't just barge into someone's house to collect collateral. They had to wait outside with dignity. Day laborers had to be paid their wages before sunset because they depended on that money for their daily food. And perhaps the most touching part is the instruction about harvesting. When you harvested your field, you were to leave the forgotten sheaves. When you beat the olives from your trees, you didn't go over the branches a second time. When you harvested your vineyard, you left the gleanings. Why? The text says it's for the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow. It was a built-in welfare system, a way of ensuring that the most vulnerable members of society were cared for with dignity, not just through handouts, but by being able to gather food for themselves. It's a beautiful model of a society that looks out for one another. So when we put it all together, Deuteronomy 23 and 24 are far more than just an old list of rules. They are a blueprint for a community built on holiness, respect, justice, and deep, practical compassion. They show us a God who cares about everything from the cleanliness of our camp to the fairness of our economy, a God who champions the cause of the poor and vulnerable. These principles are just as relevant for us today as we think about how to build loving and just communities in our own world. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope this gave you some fresh perspective. If you found this encouraging, please give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss our next one. Have a blessed week.